Guess who's back? Back again. What's going on, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to whenever the hell you are listening to this new episode of the New Jungle Podcast. I'm back, baby. I love it. I feel like well needed time off for me. I needed to kind of de-stress, figure out where I am as a human, as a person, where I am in my life. As you can see, I've kind of grown my hair out too. I'm just in a different spot in life right now. Hold on, let me fix my light as I'm still talking to y'all. And I feel like I just needed kind of to figure out where I stand and where my opinions lie and how I can contribute to this great big family we've all come to know and love here at the Cincinnati Bengals fan base. So I'm very excited for this episode. I want to talk about everything. My last episode was very rushed and it was a YouTube only just because it was an important announcement and I wanted y'all to see me. But now we're back. I'm going to talk about everything. It's going to be rambling. Y'all are going to watch me and I'm going to be all over the place. But so let me start off first by saying, what did I tell y'all? Let's go all the way back to my season predictions and let's talk about where I went through. And I actually want to go through and have the Bengals schedule up just to prove myself right more and more. Um, Not to sound cocky, but I'm being really cocky right now. I think I said that I was hopeful for 4-0, but I think the most likely option is 3-1. And guess where we are right now, recording this on Tuesday, October 5th, right after the Bengals Jaguars game, which was electric. When I was there, it was awesome. Let me just tell y'all about that first before I get into how I think the team looks. God, I fucking love our culture as a team now. It's awesome. It's amazing. What we do what we have done over this last year as a fan base has been incredible. I'm so happy that we got to be able to that I got to be a part of it. I'm also so happy that I got to go and witness everybody also experience it with me and be able to see how everybody enjoyed it. And it's awesome. What the Bengals did to the stadium and what they did to the culture and what they did to the game day experience, everything was so incredible. And all of the fans showed out. I met so many of my honestly Bengals heroes, like not necessarily I didn't meet any Bengals players, but I met Yaz, I met Jake Lisco, I met Joe Goodberry, I met Zim. Finally, he's been on the podcast twice. I was so excited to meet Zim. Shout out to Zim. Everybody go tweet at him right now and just say shout out. And he'll get annoyed, but he'll text me and he'll be like, tell them all to be quiet, but don't keep texting him. But he's awesome. Um, I I'm just so elated that I got to meet everybody, and I also got to meet Arrow. I met Bengals captain. Um, I met Strawberry. I met so many people, and I was so happy that I could be there. And I felt back at home. It was awesome. I was so happy. Um, but God, what it's like to be in that stadium. We were so loud. It was incredible. I really think um that was such a big change from the last, technically, I guess, full capacity allowed game that I went to. Because the last full capacity game that I went to was the Jets in 2019. And that looked like a high school stand, like a high school stadium. And then I went to the Pittsburgh game over the winter last year. And I mean, that it was a good crowd, but it was COVID. But being back in that stadium at full capacity and everybody being allowed to go and interact with each other, so incredible. And I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it. And I really encourage, even if you're not necessarily the biggest Bengals fan, but even if you have the opportunity to go to a game, you need to, because it is something that I don't think I can ever recreate again. And especially if you go to any of these big games that I think are winnable, like now looking at this at when I'll get into it later, I think the Packers are a winnable game based on how we've been playing. I mean, if you go to the Steelers game at home, that's going to be electric. So divisional games at home are going to be awesome. I please try your best to go. If you don't have season tickets, just get a ticket package or something. Go. It's awesome. And you will not regret it. Anyway, I want to go and talk about how I think the team is done and how I want to break down different position groups and grades and stuff like that. I'm going to get everybody caught up on my thoughts and feelings. So, 3-1. 3-1. This is the second best case scenario. I think this is the most logical scenario that we could have gotten to at this point. I knew that we were probably going to lose a game. I was hoping it wasn't to Chicago because that was tough. I think we should be 4-0 just because we didn't get anything worth any of our while that entire game. And it was just nothing went our way for the whole game until like the fourth quarter, which sucks, but it shows that we are always going to fight for each other as a team. And it shows our resilience, and it shows how much we actually care as a team, that we want to get this shit done and we want to get it done now. That's my takeaway from the one loss. The 3 wins, Joe Burrow is back. And I wish I put on my Joe Burrow jersey. It's currently sitting in my closet hanging up right now, but Joe Burrow is back. I'm so excited to be able to say that. That is amazing. I'm so happy. And he's the number one he's the number one quarterback in the AFC North right now. Let's just put that flat on the ground right now. Nobody in the I guess Lamar Jackson is the only person that would compare, but he's not putting up the numbers, and he's not contributing as much to the culture as Joe Burrow is. And he's still not even putting up the numbers. And that's something that I was so hopeful that would happen, that we would be able to go and have Joe hop right back in, and just him being confident. And he looks confident. Let me tell you that. When I was at the game on Thursday, it was the most present to me that he was confident throughout the entire game. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he had to do, and he knew what it was going to lead to eventually. He was confident in the pocket. He was smart under pressure. He's just looked great, and just flat right there. He looks awesome. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league right now. That's my opinion. That's how I look at it. That's how I rank it. I think so many quarterbacks have shifted and changed and everything, just because, I mean, this year's been weird. I mean, Kansas City is what are they? 2-2? Like they're 2-2, and we're 3-1. We have a better record than the AFC champions Kansas City Chiefs. And I know it's week 4, and I know we play them later, and I know it's a really big statement, but I think right now, is this very moment right now, we are a better team than them overall. However, that could change. Everything could change. This is not a definitive statement. That's a very hot take. But the way that the Chiefs have been playing, they don't, like, at the end of the games, they don't look like they care. And I did watch a lot of the Chiefs games. I like to watch as many games as I can, even though I'm going to always prioritize the Bengals. I'm always going to go back and try to look at some of the games, but they don't look as unstoppable as everybody keeps saying they are. They're like, even though they've got off to a rough start, they're still unstoppable. No, they're not. 2 teams have stopped them. And they're teams that are pretty good. Let's just put it that way. They're pretty good teams, but they're not teams that are going to. I mean, they could, but they have that potential. But I don't think they're teams that are necessarily huge Super Bowl contenders. They're not Super Bowl favorites, which the Kansas City Chiefs were going into this year, which everybody has a bad day. But when you lose 2 games in the first 4 weeks in that sort of fashion, and you kind of give up towards the end, it's very weird. Let's also talk about the Steelers in that sense, where the Steelers have given up over the last 3 weeks. They won week 1, and then the last 3 weeks, they've just fallen off. Big Ben is washed. Let's just done. Big Ben's washed. Let's get him out of there. Get Mason Rudolph in, and let's have an era where the Steelers are in last place for a couple of years. That would be awesome. But this isn't an NFL show. This is a Bengals show. Let's get back to it. Yeah, our Joe Burrow's back. I think our offense is electric. I remember almost the definitive point where I was Team Chase. Jamar Chase is a baller. He's going to be a baller for the rest of the year. He's going to be a baller for a pretty good time. I think he has the capability to be a number 1 X factor wide receiver for us. Not saying that T. Higgins doesn't have that ability. Not saying Tyler Boyd doesn't have that ability. I'm saying that he has the ability to pull the offense over the top. And you've seen that. He has 4 touchdowns in 4 weeks, and he didn't even have one last week. He has, I think it was 289 yards in 4 weeks, and that's on 18 targets or 18 catches. And that's incredible. I think there was a stat where I read it was 25 targets, 1 drop. And if he's having that 1 drop, but you're catching for 4 touchdowns and you're getting almost 300 yards in 4 weeks or 300. Yeah. Like that's incredible. Even though a lot of Team Sewell people are like, well, Penei Sewell's still playing great. But it's like, that's our guy now. Let's not dwell on the past. That's our guy. Jamar Chase is our guy, and he's balling. That's it. Period. End of story. And I think everybody's on that plane, and I really am happy. Our offense looks really good. Our offensive line has surprised me. Very happy with the performance. The way that I think there was a play, I think it was CJ Uzama's second touchdown, actually, where Jackson Carman picks up a late blitz and he looks awesome. Our offensive line, Jackson Carman is somebody who's impressed me. God, I have so much to talk about. We just look so put together right now. We look like a complete team. Play calling is something that I'll get into later, but our offense looks complete. Joe Mixon is playing really well. I'm really happy to see that. I was predicting that he was going to have kind of an X factor year for us if he can contribute and stay healthy, which is unfortunate because now he's day to day just because of an injury that happened over Thursday night. But I mean, he's still going to be pretty good when he comes back. He's still going to be our number 1 guy. He's going to put up numbers, especially with what Frank Pollock has been able to do as the run game coordinator. Just super, super exciting stuff. I'm really, really happy with how we've been able to showcase ourselves on the offensive side of the ball. That being said, let's go to the defense now. Actually, never mind. Scratch that. Erase that from your minds. I want to talk about the offensive line more because Jonah Williams and Riley Reif have impressed me a lot. I was hoping that everybody on our offensive line was at least going to be average. And Jonah Williams is playing way better than average. I can't remember the exact stats, but he is playing incredible. Riley Reif is playing really good too. Obviously, I'm not super big into analytics. I look at stats that I see, and that's about it. That I watch games, and I don't really take in a lot of numbers, but whatever numbers I see, that's what I'm going to spit to you, and that's about all I have. But what I've seen, the offensive line looks really good. We kind of struggled first against the Vikings and Bears. We didn't really have a good showcase, but to stop the Steelers from having 75 straight games with a sack and allowing 0 sacks against that front four. I mean, banged up, no TJ Watt. You can make that argument, but still, they impressed. Sorry about that, everybody watching on YouTube. I accidentally pulled the cord on my headphones, and so you might have a little bit of like a jerk of my screen. Anyway, let's go back to topic at hand. Offensive line looks great. Trey Hopkins is looked average. Quentin Spain has looked really good. Xavier Suafilo was okay. Jackson Carman, though, has looked great for being thrown into the position. He wasn't, not saying he wasn't prepared, but he wasn't expecting it probably. He wasn't like, oh, at week 3 is going to be my start time, and then I'm going to show up and play awesome. He was probably expecting to be a backup for most of the year, but now being able to go into Pittsburgh, start first NFL game and give up 0 sacks, give up almost 0 pressures. That is an incredible feat for him and the entire offensive line. I am super impressed with how they've played. And even though we gave up 1 sack against Jacksonville, I believe it was only 1. I don't remember, trying to go through my mental playbook, but I don't think it was more than 1. Our offensive line looked good. We did struggle a little bit on at the beginning, but I mean, that happens, especially with a short week. Play calling is so offensive looks complete, but I want to talk about play calling just for a little bit. It's on and off, and I feel like that's how it was last year, where we would have great games being called, and then we would go into like an intermediate mode where we wouldn't really do anything with it, and it would kind of like, we kind of stammered off and we didn't really keep it going. We didn't keep the energy or momentum that we had. And I'm really looking at this and I'm like, if we can get that down, then it's not saying it's a done deal, but our offense is almost unstoppable. I was hoping that we would be able to score 30 points a game on average. And right now, when I'm looking at it, we have 27, 20, 24, 24, which those aren't bad. That's not a bad offensive showing, but it's not what you're wanting to see with how our offense is, right? How our offense is set up. Or sorry, I said 20 at the Bears game. That's what the Bears scored. We scored 17. So 24-17 or 27-17, 24-24. You're averaging around 24 points a game. Which, I mean, that's a touchdown away from being 30. And I think we definitely have that ability. We just, I think play calling needs to become more consistent, not better, but more consistent, because it's not bad play calling. It's just a little bit inconsistent where we're running on 4th and longs. We're not taking deep shots on second and short. We're putting ourselves into weird situations on 1st and 2nd down, and then it costs us 3rd downs, and play calling becomes a little bit inconsistent, which is not something I'm super worried about right now, but it's something that I kind of want to keep an eye on. Hopefully it gets better over these coming weeks, especially with the Packers and Ravens coming up in these next 2 of the next 3 weeks. But moving on, I want to go into the defense. I think one of my keys to this year that I said, once again, I'm going to toot my own horn, was we needed something to go right. And I was hoping it was going to be something like Joe Mixon or the linebacker room. And the linebacker room has looked great. It has looked awesome. I'm so excited that we've been able to go. Logan Wilson has come to his own. Akeem Davis-Gaither. Jermaine Pratt has been a really underrated part of this team. He was the guy who forced a fumble in overtime of the Vikings game. It's just been our front 7 have been awesome. I want to see what the sack numbers are, because I know for a fact last year we had 17 sacks ending. ending with 17 sacks. And I was really concerned. It was not something that I was very pleased with, honestly. Um, I we have 11. We have 11 through week 4, and we had 17 all of last year. That is an incredible jump just for the front 7, not including the secondary, which I'll get to in a second, but the front 7 have looked awesome. And not to mention DJ Reader has been a monster on the line. He's looked great. Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson have looked awesome. It sucks that we don't have Joseph Osai, because imagine how much better we would be if we had Joseph Osai being able to be a rotational piece, or sometimes even starting a drive or something like that. We have such a ceiling, and we're already getting higher and higher every day. Big levels. We're getting up the levels. And it's something that you are really looking forward to in this after this first quarter of the season. So this is, I guess, kind of a first quarter update of the season. But I'll hopefully be able to get into a schedule here soon. I'm hoping to do Tuesdays and be able to just post on Tuesday afternoons or evenings. So stay tuned for that. Back to Bengals discussion, but front 7 looks great. Really happy with it. I mean, I think zone, or I don't know. There's just something I want to articulate where we need to get a little bit more consistent on intermediate third downs, because I feel like we're giving up a lot. But that could just be me and my subjective bad memory. So don't take that super to heart, but I feel like we could get a little better on third downs. And that brings us to the secondary. Jesse Bates has looked great. Please extend him. Please. Von Bell looks great. Please sign him to another deal after this if he continues to play like this over his contract. Trey Waynes looked good over at his first debut. Eli Apple. That's about as much as I'm going to put into that. I'm sure we all kind of have the same thought processes on that. But I mean, other than that, Chidobe Awuzie looks great. I'm really sad that I didn't get to see him play on Thursday night, but he has looked awesome. Mike Hilton has also been amazing. I'm just so happy at all of our attachment, or at all of our improvements, where we've gotten better and where we've had additions and been able to grab more people who are going to improve this defense, who was a very, very, very questionable at the beginning of the season. We, not necessarily after the first game, but before the season started, it was very questionable. I was a little worried. I was hopefully confident that all the pieces were going to fall into place, as they have so far through 4 weeks, but they're continuing to fall into place. And I'm really, really, really excited about that. It makes me very happy that a lot of the things that I wanted to happen and a lot of the things that I was really hoping would fall into place are falling into place. And it gives me a lot of confidence going into this second quarter of the season. Finally, wrapping up this episode kind of before I get into some breakdowns of me and the podcast of everything. Evan McPherson, 4 games, 2-game winners. It's easy for him. I don't even want to talk about it. That's why you draft a kicker. Awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now to be a Bengals fan. And I think all of y'all should be too. I'm elated. This could not have gone much better. And I'm really happy that I'm able to be a part of this and be able to contribute my opinions and be able to have y'all listen and enjoy it every time. That being said, like I said earlier, I'm hoping to get into some sort of a schedule. I'm hoping to I'm hoping to start posting, like I said, on Tuesdays, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, because that's where I kind of have my break in my week. All don't quote me on it, but I'm trying to get a consistent schedule for y'all so I'm able to continue to make this content for you. And I want to apologize for going on that hiatus because I'm sure all of you know how hard life gets sometimes, and I want you to. I just wanted to thank you for bearing with me and still enjoying the content and supporting me and being the great fans you are. I really appreciate it. So that being said, this might be a shorter episode than ones in the past, but I wanted to just kind of catch up. There was so much to talk about. I didn't really. I'm sure I have a million more opinions that I'll be able to tweet later or something like that, but or be able to get into a different episode. But thank you so much for listening to the New Jungle podcast again. Once again, I am Garrett. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you so much, and Houday, and have a good morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you're listening to this, and Houday.